Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Now, before I introduce today's special guest, I do want to make a bit of an announcement. I'm very excited that yesterday I received in the mail my first hard copy of my new book, Unprocessed. It's the 10th anniversary edition, and it is now available on Amazon for pre-orders. It's changed quite a bit since the first book came out. For one, we have beautiful color photos from Hannah Kaminsky. For two, we have a brand new foreword from Dr. John McDougall. Three, we have brand new endorsements for people like Dr. Will Bolshewitz and Dr. Neil Barnard. And four, I added not only 30 new recipes, but all the recipes appear in their original form, but I gave revised and updated versions for how to take out the fat if you want to lower the fat, because the recipes had a lot of high fat, delicious nuts and seeds from what I was eating back then. But it's still a beautiful book, I think, and it's just got beautiful, nice stuff. The feel of the pages. If this week couldn't be any more exciting, with yesterday having the Esselstyns on for the 900th show, and now a new book. Now, if you pre-order it, please save your receipt, because we are going to be offering several wonderful bonuses for people that save their receipt and email us the receipt. Don't do it yet because the bonuses aren't in place, but they're going to be great. Probably the Audible version of the book, stuff like that. So just save the receipt, which if you buy on Amazon, it's pretty easy to do. And make sure you're on my mailing list at chefaj.com so that when we tell you what email to send that receipt to, you'll get all the bonuses. Thanks so much for supporting my work. And without further ado, we have today's special guest. I always love when guests are referred by other guests, because that means that guest had a good experience on the show. And it's just a wonderful thing that they do. And so I had a barbecue chef turned vegan health advocate, Jeff Tritton, on, and he said, you have to have Dr. Sunderman on. And I said, okay, I will. I'm just meeting her today, but I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts that she did, and she is just such an advocate for healthy living. And I love the topic of what she's going to talk about today. It's a very clever title, which I'm sure you'll love. Please welcome Dr. Melissa Sunderman. It's so nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Chef AJ. I have been watching you and listening to you and attending some of your education conferences for years now. And it's my honor and pleasure to be here with you live today. So this is great.
Well, thank you. I can't, I mean, the behind you that we had an artist on yesterday. And so I just love beautiful things. And the mirror behind you is just beautiful.
Well, I am all about color. As you can see, I like to wear color. I've got purple glasses. Yeah. So color makes me happy. A lot of things make me happy. And we're going to talk about today nature and how nature makes us not only happy, but healthy. So I'm going to start off I'm going to share a couple of slides, just not many, just to introduce the topic. And then the main thing that I'm going to talk to you about today is a video tutorial. And hopefully after watching this video, you're all going to get outside more. You're not going to be intimidated by what the thermostat says or the forecast says. So with that, I am going to start sharing my screen here.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear, because when you talked about there's no bad weather, just inappropriate clothing. I can't wait to hear what you say for where I live, where it's 122 often.
Well, I will. We're going to focus on the opposite end of the spectrum, but I will give you my hints that when the weather here in Michigan rarely gets up to 100, but what I change about what I do. So can you see my slide there, AJ?
I love the title.
Okay, so there's no bad weather, just inappropriate clothing. One of my favorite quotes. And let's see if we can advance. There we go. So this was Sir Randolph Fiennes who said this quote, and this is what I tell my patients almost every day in my office, is when we start getting excuses of why we can't get outside, I said, hey, you just got to get the right clothing. So as Chef AJ said, I am a physician. I'm board certified in both internal medicine and lifestyle medicine. I've been practicing for going on 24 years of clinical medicine, and I became introduced to lifestyle medicine about 2018. Kind of came across it on Google of all things, but pretty much during my entire career was really focusing on lifestyle medicine without me even knowing this college existed. And so when I actually found that there was American College of Lifestyle Medicine, I decided to pursue a board certification. So probably a lot of your listeners and viewers are familiar with lifestyle medicine and our 6 pillars. So I'm just going to go through those 6 pillars. Our first under nutrition is we do advocate for a whole food, plant-based dietary pattern, which Chef AJ definitely supports and teaches us each and every day how to do this best. The second pillar would be the role of physical activity. And I like to frame it more as movement rather than exercise. I think sometimes people can be intimidated by the word exercise because it connotates having to go to a gym, having to lift heavy weights, So if we just say movement, and movement comes in many different forms. So we encourage movement. Usually we gauge for about 150 minutes per week as our goal. So that breaks down to about 25, 30 minutes per day. We also know the importance of sleeping well, and that actually we need sleep for detoxification, for just our bodies to run efficiently and our minds to be sharp. And we do recommend at least 7 hours of restorative sleep every night. And we know that not only do we have a lymphatic system, but we have a glymphatic system in our brain that really detoxifies us when we're sleeping. So we advocate for sleep. We also recommend, we want to avoid risky behaviors such as alcohol, tobacco, excessive drinking, and any drug use. We want to be present in the moment. Our fifth pillar would be the role of managing our stress, and we all have stress in our life. Unfortunately, our brains don't know the difference between being chased by a tiger or maybe being worried about our 16-year-old new driver on the roads, right? We still elevate our cortisol levels. So learning how to manage stress in our life. And the final official pillar of lifestyle medicine is connection, in that we are social creatures and we need our connection. We need to be with our people, whether that's family, friends, groups that you belong to, and how challenging that has been since 2020, March of 2020 with the pandemic, and really not, we encourage the social distance and still in feeling that void. And now that we're hopefully coming out of this pandemic, we can be around our people. So those are the 6 official pillars of lifestyle medicine. However, I add an unofficial 7th pillar of lifestyle medicine. And my pillar is that I recommend to my patients, my family, my friends, anyone who wants to listen to me, is that daily exposure to nature and fresh air is really key to overall wellness. And like Hippocrates said, and I know you love this quote, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. He has so many great quotes. And then the one that really pertains to this topic is the physician treats, but nature heals. And I'm a strong believer in that. So what are some of the health benefits of movement in nature? Well, we know, and studies have proven this, that it can help lower blood pressure and lower stress hormone levels, like I was just talking about cortisol levels. It can reduce the nervous system arousal. So we hear about fight or flight, so sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So we can hopefully reduce that sympathetic nervous system arousal. We also have studies that show nature and movement in nature can enhance immune system function. Things like natural killer cells can be elevated to help prevent, viral infections, bacterial infections, even as cancer progresses. It can also increase self-esteem, as we move and feel connected to the environment and to our world, we can also feel better about ourselves. And it can also reduce anxiety. So again, here's another graphic to show about the health benefits of nature. And we talked about the reduced anxiety, but also reduction in depression. We can have a decreased perception of stress. We can feel more energetic as we get outside and have that fresh air. We've shown that we can have increased immunity, 50% lower risk of diabetes. And being outside, we know that vitamin D comes from, as the sun is on our skin, how we are able to produce vitamin D. So it can also, being outside, getting that sunlight, of course, being safe and wanting to not get too much sun exposure, but we can get increased vitamin D levels. It can help with weight loss and fitness. And it can also help with symptoms of ADD or, concentration and attention. So I thought this was a very interesting topic, and there was a study that I was looking at, and really, if you get out in nature, and we're talking like nature, forest bathing, where there's trees and birds and just your natural environment, that a study showed that if people went out for 2 hours on 2 consecutive days, they were able to see an increase in natural killer cells by about 50%. And those natural killer cells are really related to preventing viral infections and any kind of infection. And like I said, are involved in cancer metastasis. So just getting out on consecutive days, it doesn't have to be going hiking all day, just a couple of hours. And this elevation of the natural killer cells actually lasted higher levels for out to a month after exposure. So very important. So what are some forms of movement in nature? Again, I use the form movement rather than exercise. And there's so many different forms. And I love this graphic because it just shows that here's a family and, there's a mom or an adult walking with a child, but then up ahead, you've got another adult just leaping for joy and little kids chasing after them. So just, personifies just, how much we can all just enjoy nature and feel free. So just a list, and the list is way beyond this that I came up with, but some forms of just movement in nature, there's walking and there's jogging, there's gardening, with the blue zones that we talk about, a lot of their movement is just gardening. So just being out and connecting with nature and nurturing, hiking and biking and swimming, skiing, bird watching, even doing yoga outside and Tai Chi, kayaking, canoeing. And again, there's more. These are just some of the ways that we can be active in nature. So what are some perceived barriers in movement in nature? And this is, when I'm talking to my patients about how to become more active, there's a lot of barriers, and we have to be honest about this and understanding. And so, I do love this quote on the left. I'm too tired. It's too cold. It's too hot. It's raining. It's too late. And instead of listening to those excuses and finding excuses, just say, let's go. And so what are some of the perceived barriers? And these are not even just perceived. These can be real barriers. So I don't have the time. I can't afford to go to a gym. I'm worried about my safety. What if I fall? Body image. And again, when I talk about, encouraging my patients to go to, exercise, sometimes people don't feel comfortable going to the gym. They maybe don't feel comfortable in exercise clothes or feel intimidated by some of the regular people who go to the gym. Accessibility. Again, that could be financial. That could be transportation, getting to a gym or an exercise facility. Lack of motivation, just not feeling like, that inertia, right? If you're just not motivated to go and sedentary, that's hard to get motivated. Finding it boring. I don't like to exercise. I just don't like to exercise, or not having a companion to go with. So these are common barriers that I do find. So how to break down these barriers? And this is a picture of my husband. This is a typical Michigan weather, different than your weather, AJ, but that is classic morning running. So this is how I choose, and some of my friends choose, to break down some of those barriers. On the upper right-hand corner is a good friend of mine, Jill, who basically has transformed her life. And really not until she was in her 50s, her mid 50s. And she had joined a Facebook group that I run about lifestyle medicine and plant-based dietary patterns. And she went whole food plant-based about a year and a half ago. And her reasons for wanting to do this, and she wanted to get healthier for herself, but this is her grandson, her first grandbaby. And she wanted to be able to play and chase and engage with her grandson. So her barriers really became non-barriers when she had the motivation to get healthier. In the middle up front, that's my family. My kids are in college now, and we love to travel and get outdoors. So, it's not like we're expert climbers or anything like that, but this is here us in Colorado. And top left is, that was my 50th birthday. And that's at the top of a ski hill out in Colorado. And, just feeling like, I just want to get outdoors and follow the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Bottom left, this is my tribe. These are my people. And this is where, I have friends who like to get outdoors with me. And so we encourage each other. We're all in our 50s. We're all professionals, working full time. We've got a CFO there, a CEO there, a program aeronautical engineer. That's my husband and I, John. We decided to sign up for a half marathon together. Again, we encourage each other. We had that support. We made it fun. We both had a goal. And then on the bottom right, that was the first time we climbed. That's my son. He's a senior in college. The first time we climbed our first 14er, Pikes Peak. And again, we had never done this before. So we weren't experts by any means, but we were willing to give it a chance. So these are ways that personally, I find ways to get outdoors, and I have a support system. And I think that's really helpful for others, and if you don't have friends or family, there's always groups that you can find to help. So how to move in nature in all conditions. And this is a photo. Here I live in Michigan, and a lot of us in the country, we are hopefully coming out of this season, but still, today was really nice. Tomorrow it's supposed to snow. So how do we go about encouraging ourselves to get outside? So I'm going to transition now to a video tutorial on how to dress to exercise outdoors. Here's a picture of me, kind of similar to my husband, where, I call it the icicle mascara. That's a special kind of mascara that you just get icicles all over your eyelashes. So I am going to step over to a different room where I'm going to do my tutorial.
I never heard that word for icicle mascara before.
Oh yeah, it's pretty fancy, I'll tell you.
That's a great picture. And I love your hat. You do love color. I wish you could see where I live, because I'm all about color too.
We would get along just great.
I mean, look, I'll show you my leggings just so you can see. You can kind of see, like, I don't know if you, it's her hair. So let me see if I can back up. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Fabulous.
And they're all like that. They're all like that.
Okay. You got me now, and I'm in my different room. Okay. So what I'm going to focus on now is, we will get to your warmer weather at the very end. I'll give you some tips that I use, but primarily what I see for a lot of the year in not so, they're wonderful climates, but it gets cold and people just say, gosh, once it gets, below 50 degrees, I'm not going outside. And I'm like, no. You just have the right equipment. And a lot of people don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for a lot of years, so I've picked up tricks of the trade. So I'm going to go head to toe with how I manage to get outdoors each and every day. Okay. So I'm going to take off my glasses. Hopefully I can still see. So head to toe. First of all, Chef AJ, I feel like the most important thing is right here in our brain. And that is a good attitude of like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do this. It helps to have friends or someone to meet, accountability. But you got to have it up here. Like, nothing's going to stop me. Rich Roll has a great quote that says, mood follows action, right? So do the action, and 99% of the time, you're going to feel better. Like, I've never exercised or moved my body and then finish and say, yeah, that sucked. I never want to do that again. No, I feel like, wow, it may have been hard to start, but I am so glad I did. So good attitude. Okay. So I got long hair, obviously. If I'm going outdoors, I always get my hair in a ponytail. If it's windy, kind of snowy or rainy, I'll braid my hair so it doesn't get into a rat's nest. Otherwise, this becomes like a rat's nest. I'm not going to braid it for you right now. You guys know how to do that. So get my hair up out of the way. When it's really cold out, I will wear a balaclava. Now, this actually, it's a balaclava, but it's what I use when I go skiing. It's like a helmet liner. So it's got it's real thin, like neoprene kind of on top. So this goes over my head. And what this provides is nice warmth of my neck. And I can always pull that up if I want to.
You could actually rob a bank too.
What'd you say?
You could rob a bank.
Rob a bank. Yes, I could. haven't done that yet. Hopefully won't put that on my to-do list. So usually I don't like to run with it over. I like to be able to breathe, and otherwise it gets real wet. So we'll do this. And then I've got lots of hats. This would be like for a really cold day. This is a really warm hat. put that on top. So head is all nice and toasty. If it's not quite as cold, like right now, it's getting a little bit warmer. Instead of that balaclava, I will wear a buff, and buffs you can buy them everywhere. They're real popular. You can use this as a headband. I like to use it as a neck warmer when it's not quite as cold. So basically, you could pull this up. A lot of times I'll just wear it around my neck. Okay. So that keeps it a little bit warmer than nothing, but not as warm as that balaclava. And then it's easy to, it's small enough I can take it off if I get hot and put it in my pocket. So other options, I've got lots of these really cute hats. It was kind of similar to the one I was wearing. It's got a fleece liner, but it's thin. So this would be just like today. Well, today was pretty warm, actually. It was unseasonably warm. But, if it's in the 30s or so and I don't need quite as much coverage, I like to have the fleece lining because that's good for sweat and also keeps you a little bit warmer. Now, if it really gets warm, again, I love this. Shukas is the brand, but it's sparkly. I don't know if you can see the sparkles, but it's sparkly and paisley, all the different kind of patterns. So this would just be an ear warmer. And also it's good if you have long hair. So and it just basically keeps your ears warm. Now, if it's raining and cold, because we sometimes get that where it's like 33 degrees, so it's not going to be snow, it's going to be like freezing rain. What I typically will do is I've got another little ear warmer thingamajig, and I will put this on basically to keep my ears warm. And then if it is raining, no matter if it's 100 degrees or whatever, I always want to wear a baseball cap because it will keep some of that rain and out of your face, So then basically I've got my baseball cap, but my ears are still staying warm. Because if you just wear the baseball cap and it's cold, your ears are going to freeze. So that's basically my head. I did want to touch on lighting. Now, I run in the mornings before work. I usually start seeing patients by meetings at 7 or start seeing patients by 8. So really my window to get my exercise in is primarily in the morning. I usually can't, I might do something in the after work, but I never know when work's going to finish for me. So I can carve out, if I just get up early enough, I can carve out time to exercise. So headlamps are a must. So this is, I do recommend like rechargeable headlamps. Sometimes the headlamps have batteries, but when you have to have batteries, it will be heavier and you never know when those batteries are going to give up. So I have some rechargeable, just like USB kind of thing that are great. And so, they're adjustable, basically. Oh, there, that's bright. So I like to wear this headlamp and it's great. And it's super lightweight. Now, if it's warm enough and I'm not wearing a hat, I really don't like to wear that headlamp because then I go to work with like a big mark on my forehead. So I have also a waist belt. And this is the brand that I have for this, Ultra Aspire. It's got like a little fanny pack that I can put, a phone in or something like that. But then this just goes around my waist and clicks on. There it is. And so then it provides, it's got blinky, provides safety for me because I can see the terrain, but then also cars and other runners or people on bikes can see me. So this is safety for both me and then everyone else. So that's a great option. So I'll start using this in the summertime when I'm not wearing a hat. Okay, so that's our hats. We got the head, we got the neck. So let's move on to torso. So basically, I'm not going to show you my sports bra, but I have a sports bra and you got to find out which ones work for you if you're a female. And depending upon chest size, I don't really have that concern, but other women do. And there's, great options for women for support. If it's real cold out, I will wear a tank sports bra that goes down over my belly just to provide more comfort. If it's not too bad, then I will wear just kind of a regular sports bra. What I'm wearing right now is a pretty It's made actually for skiing, but it's a good thermal wicking shirt. And I like these that have the zippers, because if I do start to get warm, I've got the option of providing more ventilation. The most important thing is layering, and you want to avoid cotton. Cotton, once it gets wet, it will stay wet and keep you cold. So you want a synthetic type of material, or you can get like smart wool, which is kind of a wool, but nice and soft. This is like a lighter top. This is a hot chili. Again, this is made for I think comes out for like skiing, but it's great for running. And I find a lot of items for a really good price at Sierra Training Post, which is part of the TJ Maxx and Marshalls stores. So again, just keep your eyes open, and you can get sports bras for like $12. You can get these liners for, 15, $16. So you don't have to spend a ton of money if you really shop around. So look for those discount stores and you'll find good athletic wear. So then for jackets, if it's really cold, I really do have to wear a heavier jacket. This is like a down jacket, but it's important to be fitted. And I really don't want anything that's really loose. I want it to be fitted. If it's windy, then you're blowing in the wind and you're like a parachute, and not like I'm going fast. But so this is going to be when I'm running in like below 0 degrees. I mean, real warm. If I need to, I can put the hood on over my hat just for extra protection. So this is going to be something. Happens to be Athleta. But again, I'm not trying to promote any brands. It's just that whatever I find and I'm like, okay, this works for me. So this is going to be for your heaviest days.
People are saying you seem like you're in great shape.
Well, I do my best. I try, right?
You look really young. I mean, you look like 20s, 30s, maybe.
Oh my God. I love you. Thank you. Age is just a number, right? I say that, my eyes, I started having to wear readers in my late 40s. And I think that was God's gift to me, because I just, when I look without my readers, I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. And then I get my readers on, I get close to the mirror. I'm like, oh, wow, look at, so thank you for that compliment. But, it's just, I've slowed down a lot. I've been I was never a collegiate athlete. I was actually a ballet dancer growing up, and started doing this stuff after college. And, I've had some great successes for myself. And now I'm getting slower, but I'm still out there. And I've got girlfriends and friends that I do this with. And we're actually training for a 50K in Zion next month. So just finding ways to keep motivated. So here's a jacket that I've been wearing lately. It's going to be lighter. This happens to be Nike, and it's not down, but it really keeps me quite warm despite the thinness of it. It's going to be windproof, pretty much water resistant. If I'm out in a pouring rain, I will get wet, but it is water resistance in wind. And again, is light enough. So like yesterday when I ran, I got warm. I'm able to tie it around my waist. If we get into rain, again, I'm going to go with a really, really lightweight jacket. This one has a hood, which I like, because again, if it's raining, what I'll do is I'll put my hood up, and then I'll put the baseball cap over it. And so then that gives me full protection. So again, just having, and you don't have to spend a ton of money. Look around, I got all of these on sale, and a lot of it from some of the discount outfitters, and there's backcountry.com, the Sierra Trading Post. So shop around, to find bargains. Okay. So now we've done jacket. We have done under. Now we're going to go on to pants. I'm going to flip my camera down a little bit. And what I've gone on right now, these are my warmest pants, and they are kind of windproof. You can hear they're windproof and water resistant on the front, and on the back, it's more like a fabric. They've got some good reflective. So if I'm out running in the morning, and they're actually kind of a double layer. So they have, I'm not going to show you, but they've got like a fleece inner and then this outer. So these are going to be my warmest kind of pants. When it's real cold, what I like to do is I will put like a pair of compression shorts underneath, because then it keeps my bum warm and then my upper thighs. So when it was real cold this winter, I'd put this layer on first, and then I'd put these pants on, or a warm running tight. These are another one of my favorite tights. These are actually Cannondale, which is a biking tight, but it doesn't have a pad. And again, it has a wind resistant front. And that's really important when you're going on these cold, windy days, just to have something that protects from that wind and those elements. So these are kind of my mainstays of pants to wear. And then we're going to move down to footing. So I'm going to adjust my camera even more. So it's really important to keep your feet warm and dry. And here are my tidbits. Right now, this is just a thin pair of Smartwool socks. Again, wool is going to be your friend in these kind of wet weathers. So real thin layer. And again, this is going to be when it's really cold. I will then find it. I will put on actually a pair of ski socks. So again, these are going to be our wool. I like to ski too. You can find these ski socks on Amazon. Again, get your bargains. And so I will layer the ski sock along with this thin layer. So you got to make sure that that under layer is really, really thin. So that's going to give me a lot of warmth right there. 2 layers of wool socks and not taking up too much room, so I can still put my my shoes on. Now, if it's not quite as cold, I now have these, again, are Smartwool, and they're just kind of a shorter. So like this is what I'm running in these days, and it's like in the 20s or so, where I still get that warmth from that wool. Even if they get wet, my feet will stay nice and, well, maybe not toasty, but they will not freeze. And I don't quite need the coverage all the way up to my calves. So when I've got the compression shorts plus my ski socks, basically my kneecaps are the only thing that doesn't have a double layer. All right, so as far as shoes go, what I tend to use in the wintertime is a trail shoe. And you can see the treads on this kind of trail shoe will give me more control on snow and all terrain. So these are great for, even if there's not snow and you're on, trails or anything like that, you're going to get more grip. This is, the bottom of my regular shoe, which you just don't get as much grip. Now, ideally, if you're going to be running in cold, wet, snowy weather, Gore-Tex shoes are really the way to go. They tend to be more expensive. So if you feel like, and you don't want to spend that extra, probably $50 per shoe just to get Gore-Tex, this is the way that you can have cheap Gore-Tex. Duct tape. Okay. So you can take, I'll show you what I do. I cut strips of duct tape. Duct tape, you can get at the dollar store. And you basically just want to cut little pieces to cover the shoe. And I usually do 3 strips, kind of moving up the shoe. And, this may only last for 1 run, but heck, you've only spent about, 5 cents on it per treatment. And what it does is it blocks the wind and can block a lot of the moisture from coming in. Because a lot of these shoes, if it's not Gore-Tex, they're going to have a breathable top, which is really nice unless it's really wet out and really cold. So this is my cheap person's Gore-Tex. And this has gotten me through a lot of winters. And, duct tape comes in all like different patterns. So if you want to get real fancy, you can get a cool pattern for your duct tape shoes. Now, if it's really icy, what I have invested in is, this is the brand Kahula, and these are called micro spikes. These are bad boys. So we live on a dirt road, and what happens on the dirt road is when it gets cold, ice forms, and that ice is the most dangerous thing. And I've fallen on black ice, and it's not good. And so, I really say to my patients who try to walk, you've got to get something with grip. Yak Trax is one brand. I borrowed a friend of mine who lives in Colorado when I was out there, and she had a pair of these, and I loved these. So basically, they just, any kind of shoe that you have, and it could be a hiking shoe. My in-laws, who are in their late 70s, bought a pair, and they just put it on their hiking shoes. But it basically just attaches to your shoe, And then I guarantee you with these things, you are not going to slip. They're real sharp. So if I'm going to be running on ice, and you pretty much want to run on ice and snow with these, if you're on, or dirt, but if you're on pavement, it's, as you can imagine, it's not the most comfortable because you've got spikes on pavement. So these have been a game changer for me when the area is really icy. So again, and I think I ordered these either from Amazon or REI. So we've got our feet. How about our hands? Really important. A lot of people, or a lot of middle-aged women I see, have Raynaud's. So their hands are very sensitive to the cold. So I totally get that. And it's you got to keep your hands cold or else you'll be miserable. So I find that mittens are going to be warmer. These are mittens. They're fleecy, and they're nice and warm. They're double layer. Sometimes, actually, a lot of times in the winter, my hands will not stay warm enough in just these gloves. So go to Sierra Training Post or Dunham's or wherever, and I buy bags and bags of these things, these hand warmers. These things are the bomb. They will stay warm for up to 8 hours. I use these for skiing too. They make toe warmers also. If you buy them in bulk, I think it comes out to probably 50 cents a package. But here's a trick that I learned several years ago. I always thought these were one use, and it's like, oh, God, I'm getting these on discount, but then I got to throw them away once I'm done with my run. That is not true. Soon as you get in from your run, you get a Ziploc bag. You stick them in your Ziploc bag. You make sure that you get all of the air out of the Ziploc bag. Seal it. Then you're going to be able to, the next morning or the next day or later, open up the Ziploc, give these bad boys a little shake, and they're going to be hot again. I can usually get 3 uses out of each one, maybe 4. So that's been a really economical way, and just not, it seems as wasteful for me to reuse these hand warmers. So that's a good trick. When it's a little bit warmer out, these gloves are great because they function as mittens, but then also I can tuck them in and then become gloves.
So wow. I love that.
Yeah. So those are fancy. These are made by Brooks, I think. Again, I got them on sale at Sierra Training Post, but just really provides that versatility. The outer layer, if it's kind of wet, will just keep my hands a little drier. And then as I get hot or something like that, I've got my hands. Let's see. So another thing that I wanted to focus on is hydration. This is going to be like for you, especially in the warm weather. A couple different ways to keep hydrated. And even in the winter, it's cold. It's cold here. And so you don't sweat as much and you just don't feel as thirsty, but it's so important to keep hydrated. So, yes.
If you don't mind, as my chat goes fast and I don't want to lose the question, Colleen wants to know, what is the coldest you have ever taken a run in?
That is a great question. And I have the answer. It was last year. We had a real cold snap here in Michigan, polar vortex. That's, what we like to call it. And it was, so here, and I'm sure everywhere, it's like the temperature, but then the real feel. So the temperature could be 20, but if the wind chill and the wind gust, it will say real feel is 0. So the real temperature was -18, or maybe it was -20. And then the real feel was much colder than that. And so my husband and I had plans to meet a friend of mine, and we go to this one park where we go there in the winter because they will plow a paved pathway. It's about a 3-mile pathway, and they plow it, they ice it or salt it so it's not icy and it's safe for us. And so we showed up and we're like, are we going to do this? And he said, yep. So again, I wore everything that, I showed you my armor and I had it all on. And my friend and husband did 1 loop, and I said, I'm going to try to do a 2nd loop. So my husband waited in the car. I got back and I wear a Garmin. This is just the kind of watch I wear to track pace and time. And I really don't care about my pace as much as I used to, but just to keep track of my distance. I oftentimes will run with my phone. A lot of times I'm on call for work. So, and for safety purposes, I like to have a phone on me. So when I got back to the car, I had made it. My Garmin had died from the cold and my iPhone had died from the cold. So my badge of honor was that I survived and outlived my Garmin and my iPhone. So probably into that negative, like 18, negative 20. I don't, recommend it often, but it's doable. And I sometimes will put ski goggles on if I really want to protect my eyes. So that's about the craziest I've been.
That is fantastic. I can't believe it. I was once speaking at the PBNSG in Detroit, and it was 6 degrees, and I literally thought I was going to die.
And it's all about acclimating, right? I mean, you're used to those warmer temperatures. So my husband and I took a trip with a work colleague to Mexico. I think it was in the fall. And, I went from running in like close to 0 degrees to like 90 and like 100% humidity. And I was like, oh my God. So it's like, once you become acclimated, then, your body gets used to it. Right. So it's hard to jump from one extreme to the other.
Right. Colleen said, what part of Michigan do you live in?
Ann Arbor, Michigan. So that's where the University of Michigan is. So
do you know Vicky, my favorite chef?
Yeah. She's involved in the community here. We're all a close-knit community. So all of us plant-based and lifestyle medicine people, we gravitate towards each other.
That's great. Angela says, you are amazing. She's motivated now, but she hates the cold.
Well, my Instagram handle is Motivator Melissa. So that's all I like to do is just motivate people. And I think by this time of year, like we're all in Michigan kind of hating the cold too. So we're all looking forward to those first signs of spring. So I'm going to get back to hydration. And even if you're, in the winter and maybe not sweating and feeling that thirst, you still need to keep hydrated. So this is made by Nathan. It's a collapsible, really easy to hold. It's got a built-in handle. It's got a little pocket. Not a very big pocket, but you can put some keys in there. Or sometimes I put a goo, which is a form of nutrition, and just, try to keep sips of water. Sometimes it's so cold that my water will freeze. So to make sure that on your route of whatever you're doing, skiing, biking, walking, if you're crazy enough, ride a bike, make sure you find places to get water. And so there's a couple parks in our area that stay open. The bathrooms stay open all year. So we're able to get fluids. We can always run into a coffee shop and, get some water from there. So keep hydrated. Another form of hydration. This is a hydration pack. I was telling you that I'm training for an ultra marathon. And so these you'll see in the ultra community. It has a bladder in here that can hold water. And you can get even an insulated bladder, and that will be to help prevent freezing. And then you get like a little covering on this tubing. I don't have one, but that would insulate it so it doesn't freeze. But these are nice because if you're going to be going out for a while, you can, these are great for hiking too. You can keep this on your back, and then I'll put, my phone, I'll put some food in there, maybe an extra pair of gloves or a hat. And so hydration vests, and there's lots of different brands. Camelback is one of the big brands. I like Nathan products too. So that's a great hydration pack. And sunglasses, always important, right? So got my athletic sunglasses. They come in many different, changeable lenses. I'm usually too lazy to change out my lenses, but always have a good pair of sunglasses because occasionally here in Michigan, we see the sun. So in your area of out west in California, you see the sun a lot more. So AJ, you said that you're, what do you do in those 100 degrees? Well, hydration, right? You always got to keep hydration with you. When I'm out running in the summertime, and it does get pretty warm here in Michigan in the summertime, I'm going with probably just like a sports bra or a tank top. I like my running skirts and hydration. I mean, I think that's sunscreen. A baseball cap to protect your face, or sometimes I get too hot with a baseball cap, so I will wear a visor. That tends to work better for me, where it keeps the sun off my face, but yet my head can still breathe, and I can sweat through my head. And when I do running races or running events in the summertime, and I encourage people who I'm help training, is stop at every single aid station. You might not feel thirsty, but just know that you're hydrated. So, and then another little.
People are loving this, by the way. And Colleen said, where did you get all these ideas?
I've been doing this a long time. So I'm 50. Well, I turned 52 in a couple of weeks. And
when's your birthday? Because I turned 62 in a couple of weeks.
March 23rd.
Oh my God, I'm March 22nd.
Oh
No
my
wonder
gosh,
we
we're
both love the same things.
oh, we are just related in a zodiac kind of sign, right?
It's so funny. You're the day after me.
We're like, right. Yeah. We both love bright colors. We're Aries. Yeah. So this is great. So here's my other like really fun thing. So there's this morning, it was warm for here. It was like 50 degrees. And I didn't know if I should wear a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt. I didn't wear this. This would have been too heavy. So I decided to wear a short sleeve shirt. And there's things called arm warmers. You can buy arm warmers, but they're usually pretty expensive. Probably a pair of arm warmers be like run you like 25 bucks. Or you can go to the dollar store or Target and buy a pair of knee socks for about $1 or $2. So these are arm warmers. These are knee socks I bought from Target years ago. And what you end up doing is this is the top of the sock. You end up cutting holes for your thumb and your hands to come through. So suddenly these become arm warmers. So as I'm running, I start off, I'm kind of cold. I might pull this over. So it's my gloves. But then as it gets like warmer and now I don't need that covering over my hands. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really getting warm. I just basically pull this down and now I don't need them anymore. I can tuck them into a running belt. And again, I've just only spent $1 or $2. So I've got like 10 pairs of these because I've got ones to match all my different outfits because my investment is nothing. And so basically you just take the end of the sock, cut off the toes, and then basically you're kind of just folding it over and cutting off a little corner. And that's where your thumb hole is going to be. So if you screw up the first time, I mean, hopefully you've only invested $1, but just go to, your Target, your dollar store, buy a bunch of fun patterned socks, and then these become your arm warmers. And they are great. I forgot to mention when I'm running, again, I like to carry my phone with me. If I'm not wearing that waist belt with the light, I don't like to run with my phone in my pockets because it starts like moving around and it just annoys me. So I like to wear a waist belt. This is called a flip belt. It's really handy. Turn my camera a little bit. And basically the flip belt has these little openings all around. So I can stick my phone in here. Like yesterday I did my long run. So I had a phone and then they go all the way around. And then I had a goo, my gel, and then I could even put a pair of sunglasses in here. So basically this belt, and it's super comfortable. It stays in place. It's expandable. It's called a flip belt and it holds kind of my necessities that I need. So I think I'm looking around I've got like basically, and what I encourage people to is we have just a small room. It's like nothing fancy at all, but I keep all of my outdoorsy stuff here. And, we've got our shoes right there. Then we've basically got hooks and baskets. This is all DIY, this is like cheap stuff that we kind of just, my husband just nailed to the wall. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. But so when I go to exercise, I know where everything is. So I take away that barrier of like, I don't know where I put my garment. I don't know where I put my headlamp. Keep everything organized and be disciplined that when you come home, put stuff away. So I just have everything in one room. And so when I walk in the morning, I've got a bench, I sit down, I put on my shoes, I reach across to the basket for my gloves. I reach on the hook to get my jacket. I've got just some, Target plastic bins here that have drawers. That I have all of my hats and my gloves and scarves just all organized. So that's helpful. So that's something that I really encourage people to do is because if you want to make the healthy choice, the easy choice. It's one of the Blue Zones taglines, but it means for this purpose too. So have everything right there, have it accessible, be disciplined about keeping someone organized. And it doesn't have to be one of these California closets of just, no, go to your reuse store, find some bins, nail some hooks up and get ready to go. So I think everyone's ready now. They're ready to go out.
They're ready to go running with you. So the people love that belt that you showed. Any idea where to purchase?
They do. So I would go to Flip Belt. So FLIP, Flip Belt. I would search online. I have seen them at running stores and things like that, but you for sure can buy them online and they come in all different colors. It actually makes for a cute outfit too, because it kind of like puts this little burst of color there. It's great. So even like for hiking, you know, and car keys, you know, just it's perfect. So it's flip belt.
Nice. And here's a comment from Apple. Do you have any sunscreen recommendations? Do you even wear sunscreen in the winter where you live?
I should. Sometimes I kind of forget, but yes, absolutely. You know, we had gone skiing, and especially when you're out and there's some sun and then there's snow, it will reflect off that snow. And so it's really important. You want to go really with like a waterproof. So a lot of times I'll use a sport sunscreen so that when and if you do sweat, that you're keeping it on. So, you know, a lot of other brands, Coppertone, if you've got sensitive skin, you know, go for the Neutrogena type brands, probably, you know, trying to go for a 30 just to protect your skin, because you could be out there for a long time, and because you're moving or there's wind, you might not realize that you're getting all of that sun exposure. So yeah, that's a good reminder and very important.
Yep. Deborah says, you're so creative. Do you do any other creative things like arts or crafts?
Well, that's great. I love arts and crafts. And so my kids are now older. So my daughter is 20 and my son is 22. And they, from the get-go, loved art. They always were doing pottery classes. I've got all of their pottery creations all over the house. We have a whole like craft corner. So I don't know if I'm like, I love that stuff. And my whole house is very eclectic. I love art. I'm not an artist, but I love to be creative. And I'm a creative thinker. My thing is, I think that I'm like a marketer trapped in a physician's body because I love creativity. I love thinking outside of the box. I love art. And I was telling AJ, we moved into a house 2 years ago when our kids went off to college, moved out to the woods. We've got 2 acres and we're on a lake. And our house was originally a horse barn built in 1926, and an artist bought it. This very famous artist, his name is Urban Jupima. He actually was a weaver of textiles. And so we have a built-in weaving loom that's about 25 feet long. We don't really know what to do with it, but he had installations all over the world, including the Smithsonian. So we live in an artist's house with custom tiles everywhere and gargoyles and wonderful, just artistic things all over. So yes, I love art. I was a ballet dancer again, so that's in my blood, just to love art and creativity.
That's wonderful. Tabitha says, what do you look for in a good running, walking, hiking shoe?
Get the proper fit. So this is an area where a lot of times I'll go to TJ Maxx, get your clothes. Don't do this for shoes, because you really need to go to a professional running store, running outfitter, because everyone's foot and gait are different. So some people are very neutral, meaning that when they run, walk, they're very neutral. They don't go like this. Some people are pronators, so their natural gait is going to be kind of in. And some people are supinators. Okay. So it's important to go to a shoe store that deals with runners, that knows how you run. I tend to be a neutral runner, so I don't need a lot of support cushion, but some of my friends who we all run together are very different. And so they need a more supportive shoe. So that's the most important thing. Don't take any shortcuts. And it's interesting because I wear a size 7 shoe, but all my running shoes need to be a size 7.5. And that's because if I get a size 7 shoe, I will lose toenails, I will get blisters. And so I need that extra space, because your foot does move as you run. And if you buy a shoe size that you normally wear, you probably will be hitting that edge. And so you're just going to set yourself up for having blisters or toenails and just a lot of pain. So I think that's my biggest advice is, and once you start wearing a shoe, like for me, I wear the Brooks Launch. I've been wearing that for years. I know my size. So now I can buy that. If I find it on sale online, I can do that. But for new runners, hikers, you really want to get a personalized fit. In every town, or maybe if you're in a very small town, you'll need to go to a bigger town. A lot of them will have a running specific store. And so I definitely would check that out. And again, just for hiking, you would want something with those treads. Like I had showed you when I'm hiking, I bought these. You're like, these, Chef AJ, because they're colorful.
Oh my God, they're so beautiful.
So these are Merrell. Merrell makes a lot of great shoes. So this is a great hiking shoe for me when I'm just out hiking with my dogs. It's not going to be, for me, a good running shoe. It's fairly lightweight, but there's not a lot of cushion. So I would not wear this running. It just wouldn't feel comfortable to me. Maybe some people it would, but this is a great type of hiking shoe. So you want to have good traction, right? So this is going to help you in the woods with gravel. It's also going to be, if the pavement's wet, it's going to give you grip. So that would be a good type of hiking shoe.
It kind of matches your top.
Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for, it's like, here's my skiing coat. If it's colorful,
you would love.
I got it. Here's my umbrella, Desigual, which is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love Desigual.
It's my favorite.
You got to come and shop in my closet. I think we would have a good time shopping together.
I'm just a sucker for color. So, and then, again, for my running shoes, this is my Brooks, my duct tape on it, my Brooks Launch. It's a very neutral shoe. And it's very, very lightweight. I tend to like a lightweight shoe, but everyone's got their own personal preference. And don't say, oh, my friend runs at Nike, so that means that's the best brand. Everyone, like with my running woman that I showed you, one person only runs in ASICS. I run in Brooks. Another person swears by Nike. So you've got your own individual foot, your gait, your preference. So and then one of my friends loves Hoka's. I've tried Hoka's several times. And each time I run in Hoka's, I think, okay, I'm going to like them because Christine wears them. I feel like a clown running in them. They just don't work for me. But some of my friends swear by Hoka's, and I've got patients that swear by Hoka's for running. It's a little bit of a different feel. You tend to be more on your midfoot. So I think you just got to stay, to yourself and make sure that that each gait and foot is going to be very different and very individualized. So get to a specific running store, get fitted.
Yeah. And Valerie says, do you need to rotate your sneakers for running?
So I do not. I've got some friends that do. I only rotate for terrain. So I will wear my trail shoes if it's snowy and I want more grip. I'll wear my road shoes if I'm going to have decent pavement. If it's really cold and windy, I'll wear a Gore-Tex shoe. I don't rotate for mileage. Basically, the miles that I do, I replace my shoes about every 3 to 4 months, but I run pretty often. I'll show you what happens on my shoes is that I wear down. This used to be orange. So just the way that my gait is, I say I'm neutral, but they should match. This one I've worn down, and it's just my natural gait. I tend to just roll on that. Not that I can feel it. And my friends say they can't even see it, but it obviously happens. So when I start seeing that, it's time for me to get new shoes. So you can look at your wear patterns, and that actually, that's another point. If you're going to get new shoes and you've been running, bring in your old ones because you can show wear patterns, and that might be important information when they recommend a new shoe. But if you're running pretty regularly, don't think you just need a new pair of shoes, like once a year. You're going to need them more often. And although running shoes compared to, most shoes can be a little bit expensive, my running shoes are about $100 a pair. What I say is once you've got your clothing, this is your only equipment, as opposed to a lot of sports. Like we love to ski, but guess what? Skiing is really expensive. Like between your skis and your poles and your boots and your lift ticket, whereas running, here we go. And then every 3-4 months, I need a new pair. And then, nature is free. So I just go out.
Nature is free. So, and yet there are so many benefits. So you run even when there's snow and ice wearing those spiky things.
Yes, snow and ice. I will not wear the spikes if I think I'm going to be alternating. Like yesterday, my friend and I did a long run and we went on trails but we were on pavement too. So that would not be good because what you would have to do is probably take those spikes off once you got to pavement. And I'm not going to do that. So we just try to stay to areas where we knew we're going to mostly be on pavement. The week before we had a big storm and it was just a crap day where, it had like warmed up. So then it cooled down. So everything froze. And so I wore those spikes because I was on terrain that was mostly all snow and then ice underneath. So that was good. But if you're going to be doing a mixture, it just is not a pleasant thing to be wearing those spikes on pavement.
Thanks. And Jerry wanted to know what brand are they? Where did you get them? And Cheryl said, what brand was the jacket you showed?
Okay. So the pants, They're Sugoi, Sugoi, and they make men's and women's. They make a lot of running and triathlon specific. They are wonderful. So they make all different kinds of weights. They make jackets. I've been really impressed by that brand. Now, like any brand and a good quality apparel, it might be expensive. Again, check for bargains. If you search discount Sugoi activewear, you'll get some hits. And probably this time of year, as we're getting warmer is when you can really get some good deals on some closeouts because people are now going to be out wearing them. So I love Sugoi. The other pants I had were Cannondale. And then I wear Nike. I have some Lululemon, but that's really pricey.
I know it really is. And they're nice, but I don't think all that. I mean,
most of my Lulu is like gifts that people have gotten me because you can find knockoffs. I mean, if you go to TJ Maxx, you can find knockoffs that look very similar, perform very similar. And, I don't need the little logo.
I know, because I waited in line to try them on, and because my friend had them, and they do look nice, but they're $120, and I can get like 8 pair of something else.
Exactly. Like my daughter, who's 20, she's very into that kind of stuff still, and I'm like, I don't really care about the brands. I want them to function. So the jacket that I showed, I've got several different kind of jackets. So this one happened to be Athleta. I got this on sale, the closeout. Again, Athleta is kind of like Lululemon. I find better sales at Athleta. But I've also, another brand that I have of like a down jacket that's upstairs and won't make you wait for me to go get it. It's made by Marmot. So Marmot. And so it's down in the front, so protects from the wind, but then a fabric on the sleeves. And I wear that thing all the time. I've probably had it for 10 years. Some really good, so Marmot has great ones for women specific. Kari Tra, Kari, and then separate word TRA. It's a woman. She's I think a skier. Really fun, colorful outdoors wear that you could wear for skiing or running or biking. Tends to be a little bit pricey, but they have sales. So if you subscribe, I just got an email that a lot of closeouts and a lot of those backcountry.com and Sierra Trading Post will get their end of the season. So you can find good bargains. So just keep your eye out. Like I happened to walk through Sierra Trading Post 2 weeks ago, because it's one of those stores where you might find something or you might not. And I found basically, a jacket I can wear for running or skiing where it's down in the front fabric. And I think it was a Marmot. And I bought it for myself for my birthday. I said to my husband, here's my birthday present. You just went shopping for me, hide it, and I'll open it up again, because it was like, a third of what the retail price was. So when you find something like that, just snatch it up.
Nice. Okay. There's a question from Shayna. Can you recommend an insert for support shoes?
Again, I would recommend, I don't wear orthotics. Again, my friends who do are going to say that you really want to get custom orthotics. Your running specific store are going to have some there that they can, knowing how your foot is, that would be a safe bet. If you really want to do it the right way, is to get custom orthotics. That's going to be expensive, more expensive. But once you get a pair made, what my friends will do is, you slip them into, your running shoe. I go cross country skiing with a friend that she'll put them in our cross country boots. So you basically can put them into a lot of different, shoes or boots. You can buy some just the drugstore or, I think that you want something that's going to be really form-fitting. And there's different weights, because some orthotics can be quite heavy. So it will add weight. Keep in mind that if you have a pair of shoes, your running shoes, you add those orthotics in, it's going to add weight, which sometimes it's not like makes the running hard. It's just going to feel different. So again, consult your local running shop and then you can see about custom orthotics.
Great. Thank you. And Kathy says, do you have any recommendations for people who can't walk or run? I'm guessing she means recommendations for exercising.
Yeah. So again, walk or run, and that's going to be a higher impact, right? So some options for lower impact, if you've got any accessibility to a pool or to a lake, if you live in a warmer climate, that takes away that pounding. So I have patients that recommend just getting into water aerobics, or you can even do some pool walking, or just, get a noodle and just do some exercises. So If you get access to water, that is wonderful. If not, again, it's just movement. So things like yoga can be wonderful. If you're even, if that's too hard, chair yoga, Tai Chi, even things like gardening of just, moving your body. Again, we'll talk about the blue zones where they do a lot of gardening and that's the movement and that's great. Things like recumbent bikes sometimes can be easier than if you don't feel comfortable riding a bike. Just a recumbent bike that doesn't put as much pressure on the back. So I have some patients that really can do well with a recumbent bike. Again, low impact. And this is, if you belong to a gym or have the ability to have some home equipment like an elliptical, it can be lower impact as well. So there's lots of different options between things they're going to cause pounding.
Great. Thank you. Robert says, how many mountain peaks have you seen and what was the highest?
How many mountain peaks have I seen? Well, I've probably seen a lot. The highest that we climbed, because I'm not a mountaineer by any stretch of the means, but I like adventures. So we did our first, well, as I call it, we bagged our first 14er. That's what they call when you climb those heights. Pikes Peak, which is 14,000, 2 summers ago with our college son. And it was really hard because we live at sea level. And then when you go to the mountains, right, you've got elevation. And so you can really feel that impact. But we absolutely love mountains. We were able to take a trip to Iceland this past summer, which if anyone likes to travel and you like adventure, Iceland was absolutely incredible. There's, volcanoes, there's mountains, there's amazing hiking. We went caving. We went Zodiac boating. And, I've big skier. So we like to ski in Colorado and take the chairlift up there. But so I've seen lots of mountains. There's something special about mountains for me that I tell my husband, I think I was a mountain goat in my former life because there's something just very moving and spiritual about mountains. So I've seen quite a few and I hope to keep seeing more.
Great. Thank you. Adlin wants to know, are there sunscreen ingredients we should look for, good or bad? And do you worry about the chemicals in sunscreen?
So I am not a dermatologist. So I'm going to say that caveat. There, in just like foods, right? When we talk about extra preservatives or extra ingredients and unhealthy exposure, my general feeling is the worst thing you can do is not wear anything, right? And get the harm from the sun. But there are people like my daughter cannot use certain brands of sunscreens because she'll break out into a rash. So she has to be very, very careful. So again, this is going to be very specific. I think that, if you're going with a Neutrogena, there's some that are going to be even like more preservative free than that. I think the one that my daughter can't handle is Banana Boat. So some of those that like smell really like coconutty and it just, there's too many chemicals in there and her skin erupts. So the worst thing you could do is the sun. So we want you to wear something. And I would start with like a Neutrogena brand. And then your dermatologist will have really good sunscreens as well.
What about just like zinc oxide?
Zinc oxide is great. Yeah. Some people don't like that because like it's hard to blend in. But if you really just want to get, full protection, absolutely.
Yeah, I that's what I wear. My husband says I look like, you remember Al Jolson?
Yeah. yeah. But again, you're out there for protection, so that's absolutely fine. And then hats provide a lot of coverage, so that's really important. That just wearing a visor or a baseball cap while you're exercising can be tremendous.
Great. Kathy says, could you please show the arm thing with the sock again?
Sure. I'm going to get like another pair so you can see how versatile these are.
I think the coolest thing you showed were the mittens that turn into gloves.
Oh, yeah.
I have a pair of gloves because believe it or not, even though I live in the desert, it can be as low as 33 degrees.
Right. Because you get fluctuations.
Yeah. And my fingers freeze. And so I have these gloves where I could actually text and touch my iPhone.
Yeah. So those ones that where the mittens will fold over are just great. Okay. So this is the kind of sock. These will become arm warmers. So again, this is from Target. And they're regular socks. So what I would do is, here's the sock in full form. Take scissors, cut off the tip, okay? And then the heel. So you've got the heel. I would just take that heel, again, fold it over, cut off just a baby corner, like half a centimeter, I mean, like little, because then becomes a hole. Okay. So you've cut off this top here and then this little heel here. And then here's another pair. Again, because they're so cheap, I just have all these different colors. So I cut off that top, and that's where my fingers come through. And then this one, I kind of screwed up because I made it the hole too big. So again, you just want a nibbling of that corner, but they work great, and I was a ballet dancer, so I don't have these big arms. So what I find is sometimes the arm warmers that I paid too much for, they'll slide down. These socks stay great. I mean, they're comfortable. And again, like, you get a little bit, warm, you put them to there, you get a lot warm, you go here. And then what I'll do with my flip belt, I think I still have on, is then I can just, as I'm running and I don't even want these anymore, I'll just run like this, and then that just keeps they stay in place.
You run every day, right? You run every day.
I tend to, and sometimes it's not very long, but I running for me, and it's different for anyone. Sorry, my dogs just got home, so they may be invading.
They're welcome to come on the show.
Oh boy, they would love that. I've got a Bernese Mountain Dog puppy who's a tank, and then a rescue who's a Great Pyrenees Labrador. So, gosh, what was I talking about? I lost
do you run every day?
Oh, yes. So for me, running, the movement is like a mindful meditation. It's really grounds me. It sets my course for the day. And so sometimes if I don't have time, but to get out for 15, 20 minutes of just movement, it's therapeutic. Now, if I'm injured, no, I'm not running, but it's kind of my thing. And so I do run most days. My husband and I run together. That's also, important just for connection. So if you have a friend, if you have a spouse, if you have a family member, anyone, it's just a time for us to connect before we start our busy days. But for me, I kind of say running's my religion. I mean, I have a religion too, but it really is a very important time for me. And again, for everyone has to figure out their schedule, and exercising after work for me doesn't tend to work because a lot of times I'll have evening meetings, or my body, now that I'm in my 50s, my body just at the end of the day doesn't like to move as well. I get a stiffen up. So, I basically can look at when my morning starts. I carve out that time. I get up really early, but I make sure that with that sleep hygiene, whatever time I have to get up, I work backwards 7 hours. That's what time I aim to get to bed. And so the answer to that question is yes, I run most days.
Great. Thank you. And there's a question. What do you think about Xero shoes, and do they have much arch support?
Yeah. So here's a pair of shoes that are Xero drop. These are Altras, and they're really dirty because I've worn them trail. So they've got good traction. And they call it Xero drop because you can see they're just kind of flat. Okay. Personally, for me, I did not really like these shoes. I feel like I need a little bit more cushion and a little more drop, but some people love them. So Altra is a big Xero drop shoe. These aren't Altras. These are Topos, Topo. Yeah, another Xero drop, but Altra, Altra, Altra shoes are going to have a lot of Xero drop. They've become more popular within the past couple of years. Like we never had these like 10 years ago, but in the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of Xero drop. It's a personal preference. I've got some friends that live by Altras, and the Xero drop, it works well for them, prevents injuries. For me, I don't think I'll buy another Xero drop shoe. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay. Thank you. And let's see. Kathy wants to know, do you do stretching before you run, after you run?
Trying to get better at that. So I do, the older I've gotten, the more important stretching is. I will admit I don't do it as much as I should. I recently in the fall had an injury and went through physical therapy, and they were so good about teaching stretching and the importance of that. So here's ideally what you should do. 5 minutes before you head out, yes, stretch. active stretching, rather than just holding, something, just some dynamic stretching, whether, gosh, I can't where you're lifting, you're walking, and you'll see you can Google search that. And then afterwards too, what tends to happen with me is I time it just perfectly that when I finish my run, I've got to run in and shower and pack my lunch and head out to work. So in a perfect world, yes, you should. It is very important, especially as we age. That at any age is good, but now that I'm into my 50s, that stretching component is important.
Sure. Lisa says, have you found socks or jackets without wool or down that keep you warm? Because some people are vegan, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. Synthetics are great, absolutely wonderful. I'm blanking on my favorites. Balega. Balega is a great sock. Balega, Balega, synthetic. Again, a lot of these, my shirts are just going to be a synthetic polypropylene. Patagonia makes some great stuff. And so, yeah, you just want it to be wicking. You just don't want it to be cotton. So I think if you avoid cotton, you're going to be good and just a wicking material.
Great. Kathy says, I injured my hamstring while running a couple of weeks ago. What kind of a doctor should I see for that?
So I can empathize with you because that was the injury I had this fall as a high hamstring injury. Probably need to start off with your primary care physician. That's like me. I'm internal medicine, primary care, as well as lifestyle medicine. And I would recommend starting with physical therapy. It was so helpful for me because a lot of times, even though your injury is manifesting as hamstring pain, it could be due to a different imbalance. Like with me, they were able to figure out that my glutes were weak and that my ankle on that foot was not as flexible as it should be. So they really approached me from an integrated whole and really treated I'm like, why are you working on my toe? They're like, oh, well, your toe wasn't moving as well as it should. It's affecting your ankle and then your glutes aren't firing. So physical therapy is a great place to start. And a lot of times, depending on insurance, you may need to get a referral from your primary care physician.
That's great. I love physical therapy. I don't love being injured, but I just find that those people are the most knowledgeable, helpful.
Absolutely. And then with my hamstring, they did dry needling technique where they use needles that are different than acupuncture. And then they hook it up to electric stimulation. So they're able to stimulate. It feels really, it's not painful. It feels really funky, but basically it contracts those hamstrings and those muscles and tries to get blood flow there. So there's a lot of different modalities with physical therapy. I had a great, tremendous respect. I refer my patients all the time. And then when I was personally a patient, I was like, wow, these godsend.
They know so much. It's whatever hurts, they've got it. They're fantastic. I've got to get one on the show. So this question that just came in from Nick would have been my exact next question. Thank you, Nick. Do you use plant-based diet and lifestyle changes with your patients?
100%. Yes, I do. So I am a lifestyle medicine physician. When I got board certified in 2019, prior to that, I would say I ate clean, right? Because that's kind of what I knew. Physicians, hopefully, and this is changing, we're not trained in nutrition. And during medical school and residency, for me, that was a total of 7 years, 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency. The average training in nutrition, and it hasn't changed much, is 17 hours over the course of 7 years. And our training is more biochemical, memorize the Krebs cycle. And then we're going to learn about tube feedings for your hospitalized patient. It wasn't about practical nutrition. So a lot of the information I learned was from my athletic community. So, I thought lean protein was good chicken and string cheese was good. And when I decided to become board certified in lifestyle medicine, 2018, I really had to prepare and study. And there's a whole board certification process where we have to do a lot of modules. We have to attend conferences. We have to write up a clinical vignette. We have to take a board exam. And so I did a lot of studying and my eyes went whoa, the power of plants. And so since 2019, my husband and I have been exclusively plant-based, whole food plant-based. My husband, I said, well, I'm a true believer in practicing what I preach. So if I'm now board certified in lifestyle medicine, no one's perfect, but I have to practice what I preach. If I'm going to walk the walk, I need to talk the talk. So I told my husband, I'm going to go whole food plant-based. And I pretty much was, pescatarian before that. And he said, okay, I'll do it for 30 days. Well, that was 3 years ago. He felt so good. He was able to reverse his high cholesterol and hypertension. He had chronic knee pain from 3 ACL surgeries. He is a soccer player. So his inflammation in his knees, he does not need to take ibuprofen anymore. He was able to reverse his cholesterol and blood pressure. We have found that, we're in our 50s. Neither of us, and this is nothing about judgment or anything like that, and everyone's different, but we don't take any chronic medications. We attribute that to our plant-based dietary patterns and also following the other pillars of lifestyle medicine. And we feel good. We have energy. Like, I just don't get that slump at 3 p.m. It's really worked wonders for us. Our daughter, who's 20, is a very high-level athlete, a D1 athlete. She is plant-based, so it dispels that myth that you can't be strong. So I advocate this every day to my patients. You have to meet patients where they're at. You have to meet individuals where they're at. And so I feel like if I don't tell them about this, it's almost like a malpractice. This is information I know. I have the evidence to back it. And what you do with it, that's your own individual choice. So I do promote this amongst my patients within our group. I belong to IHA, and we have 5 physicians that are board certified in lifestyle medicine, hoping to get more. And, each and every day we are trying to educate our patients and empower them. And a lot of times, I think physicians and other healthcare workers or clinicians, we don't give our patients, we don't think they can make behavioral change. And I really do think individuals and patients are able to do that, given that we give them the proper resources. And we have programming that goes on to educate our patients and jumpstart programs that they can enroll in to teach them more. So the answer is yes, I advocate for plant-based dietary pattern lifestyle medicine.
That is fantastic. So what was it difficult to get your husband on board eating plants?
Well, I think that he thought, and he wasn't a huge meat eater, but like if we went out, he'd love a juicy hamburger once in a while. But, I think he thought it was going to be harder, than oh my gosh, what are you making me give up? Like, how am I going to live like this? And then once we started doing, he's like, this really isn't more difficult. It's just changing some things up. And so that's like what I try to tell my patients is it's not more difficult. It's not more expensive. There's just as much diversity, if not more diversity. It's just different, and you create a slightly different lifestyle. And nowadays, like if we're traveling or going out to eat, more and more restaurants are putting plant-based options on menus, and it's very, it's getting easier to veganize or make addition to plant-based. So I think as the world is coming around about this, there's more and more options, and those barriers are really dissipating.
Yeah. Do you find that your patients are pretty receptive?
More and more, I'm finding that they are, I really do. And again, it's the stages of change. And so I've got some patients that are in that pre-contemplative stage that connection between the food we put into our body can either, foster wellness or feed disease. That's a new concept. And it's not to their fault, because perhaps they grew up in families or in environments where, that wasn't advocated for. And so it's new information. So, I provide lists of, Netflix and websites such as yourself, Chef AJ, and, resources for them to learn more. And, I send them home with these resources, and I'm like, go watch some documentaries, check out some podcasts, and then come back and let's talk about that. Because I think that no one wants to be sick. No one wants to feel like crap and have disease and take a bunch of pills. They just don't know that there's a different option, right? Because physicians they've seen before, like you've got diabetes, take metformin, you've got high blood pressure, take amlodipine, you've got high cholesterol, take atorvastatin. No one's told them that those can not only be prevented, but they can also be reversed, and that's our role. And that's our goal, is to shift the paradigm of medicine, right, to a wellness rather than a sick care.
That's fantastic. I'm just, what I was thinking, they have that dining with the doc. They have walking with the doc. Have you ever thought of starting running with the doc?
I would love that. So like we are actually, I'm in charge of the Stay Well committee, which we create programming for our staff. We also have a disease reversal where we're really trying to work with patients, but this particular committee. And so we're coming up with, right now we're launching the Eat the Rainbow Challenge, where we're trying to get our employees to eat the rainbow. Dr. Wolbowitz coins that, and, get your gut microbiome. So then the movement component, that's one of my goals. And I'm working on that right now, whether it's a healthy hike or happiness hike. But I think that just getting out and movement and being outside and being with others, right? That hits so many of those pillars of lifestyle medicine all in one.
Well, you don't only eat the rainbow, you wear the rainbow.
You are so correct.
Thank
Absolutely.
You. Do you know Dr. Brakey?
Dr. Brakey is my partner in crime.
Hey, maybe he could come on the show. Maybe you could.
He would love that. Yes.
I hear so many things about him, but we haven't met yet. Well, you are just a delight. I'll tell you, it was just so fun. This was such a fun show, so different, and just really, I felt like I was watching, like something on TV where it was great.
I had a blast too. So thanks for sharing my passion and some of the tricks of the trade.
I loved it. This is just such a great resource. And just, I never saw those mittens with the fingers. Hey,
if I taught Chef AJ something today, man,
yeah,
my life is complete.
I would love that. Oh, somebody says Dr. Brakey is their husband's doctor. Well, God, he sounds fantastic.
I'm gonna text him after this, and you're gonna have him on the show. Yeah, Dr. Brakey and I really have been having a blast with the Lifestyle Medicine Institute at IHA, and he's a wonderful resource and has very much been a mentor to me.
I just saw, I didn't see this sooner. I'm sorry, Jerry. Wanted to know if you wore Hoka's, if that's the one you like.
Yeah, so Hoka's don't work for me, but everyone's different. And some of my friends swear by them, absolutely love them. And Hoka's make, shoes that would be good for walking. They make shoes that are good for pavement. They make shoes that are good for trails. So all different flavors of Hoka's, they just don't work for me. And, but give them a shot. They are a different feel of a shoe, and you just have to see if they feel good. They're pricey. So again, keep that in mind. They tend to be a little bit more expensive than my Brooks or like an Asics. But for some people, they're really worth it because they've kept them less injury prone. So check them out.
My favorite are Asics because of the colors. They come in so many colors.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I was just telling my girlfriend, I wear the Brooks Launch, and this was the color, and it's so not me. I'm like, they're almost dead, and I cannot wait because I got to get some bright color shoes because these are just way too plain.
Yeah, I agree. So I saw a really nice comment. Where did it go? Oh, from Dee Dee saying you are a champion, and Jesse saying that Dr. Sunderman is a great guest. This was just really a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yay.
This is a great
Thank
show.
you.
My pleasure. And thanks to all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow, 1 hour earlier at 10 a.m. when my guest is Dr. John McDougall, and he's going to